In the third episode of the amazing digital circus, we've got some intriguing details that allow us to speculate on what it might entail. First of all, it's already been confirmed that episode 3 will be centered around Zooble. However, instead of solely focusing on her story, the episode will also spotlight another character. This actually makes a lot of sense, considering that in episode 2, even though the viewers anticipated that the new character Gummy Goo would be at the heart of the narrative, the primary focus remained on Pomni's journey and her emotional experience within the digital circus. It seems possible that Gooseworx hinted at this dual focus, suggesting that while episode 3 will indeed revolve around Zooble, we might also see significant developments involving Pomni, or perhaps another character entirely. If I had to make an educated guess, the other character might be Gangle. This makes sense because, like Zooble, Gangle also had minimal screen time in the first 2 episodes. Moreover, there was an intriguing comment made by Jax about some figurines, or maybe multiple figurines, that belonged to Gangle, which he used as leverage to blackmail her. This subplot could be explored further in episode 3, giving us more insight into her character. We might finally learn why Gangle can't seem to sustain happiness for more than a few minutes. Something Gooseworx previously mentioned would be explained in a future episode. Additionally, it would be logical to see more of Zooble's story unfold, because episodes 1 and 2 have already hinted at deeper narratives for characters like Ragatha, Jax, and Kinger. These characters are likely to have their own dedicated episodes as the series progresses. But for now, Gooseworx has confirmed that episode 3 will focus on Zooble, leaving us all curious about what new aspects of her character we'll discover. In the first 2 episodes, Zooble made the choice not to join the others on their adventures, preferring to stay behind. However, since Gooseworx mentioned that Zooble will have more dialogue in upcoming episodes, it's plausible that she might decide to participate in the next adventure. This could also give us the opportunity to finally understand why she opted out of joining the group in the first 2 adventures. Perhaps Zooble is simply more of a solitary character, someone who genuinely prefers spending time alone rather than engaging in group activities. In episode 2, while the others were busy exploring the Candy Canyon Kingdom, Zooble was seen preparing for Kaufmo's funeral. This reinforces the idea that she values her alone time but still cares deeply for the other characters. Maybe she initially wanted to organize the funeral in episode 1, but Caine forced her to join the group by having her kidnapped by Gloink. This could explain Ragatha's comment about Kaufmo's funeral being postponed. The fact that Zooble stays behind while the others go on their adventures might suggest that she has a certain mental strength, allowing her to take on the responsibility of preparing for Kaufmo's funeral while the others are distracted with their adventures. This scenario would reveal a lot about her personality, but we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Furthermore, in the scene where all the characters were reaching out to Pomni as she was falling, we noticed Zooble's hand among them, even though she and Pomni weren't actually speaking to each other. Despite this lack of communication, Zooble still reached out and grabbed Pomni's hand. This action suggests that Zooble might be emotionally distant from the others, but she is still a reliable friend, someone Pomni can count on even if they don't talk much. This dynamic between Zooble and the other characters could be explored more deeply, especially now that Pomni has come to realize the importance of forming friendships within the circus. We might see Pomni becoming more open towards the others, particularly towards Ragatha, who has been by her side through everything, even after Pomni essentially abandoned her twice. Now Pomni seems to understand the value of friendship, even though Gummy Goo's death might have complicated her feelings. This raises the possibility that Gummy Goo could return in episode 3. His death was so sudden that it felt somewhat abrupt, and since NPCs are essentially just computer codes that can be rewritten, it's possible that Gummy Goo was merely sent back to a developer room and could be reused by Caine in future adventures. Gooseworx mentioned on Tumblr that episode 3 is the one she's most excited about, which could indicate that Gummy Goo might make a comeback. It's clear that Gooseworx has a special fondness for this character, and when asked whether the amazing digital circus is really a kids' show, she suggested that viewers should watch episode 3 to get a definitive answer. This implies that episode 3 will be even more surprising than episode 2, not necessarily because of explicit content or a change in animation style, but due to deeper psychological themes. Episode 2 already tackled some profound topics, such as the meaning of the characters' lives and the concept of grief. Therefore, episode 3 might explore even heavier subjects, making it less appropriate for younger audiences who might not fully appreciate the psychological depth of these conversations. If we consider the season's trailer, it seems likely that the next adventure will take place in a haunted mansion. This setting could feature Kinger and introduce two new NPCs, Martha and Mealin Hall. Interestingly, Martha appears to have a pet dog that's also a ghost. Given that Caine mentioned in episode 2 that the Candy Carrier adventure was 57 times more immersive than the adventure in episode 1, it's possible that he'll further enhance the complexity of the NPCs for episode 3, providing the circus members with more engaging and challenging tasks. On the other hand, Caine might also realize that creating overly intricate NPCs could complicate the circus members' experiences, leading him to scale back the NPCs' backstories in future adventures. This way, the circus members wouldn't become too emotionally attached to the NPCs, which could detract from their focus on the main narrative. As we look ahead to episode 3, there's a strong possibility that the group will be divided once again. However, unlike in episode 2, Pomni might choose to stick with Regatha this time, instead of going off on her own. It's possible that Zooble and Gengle could team up and explore different parts of the setting, leading to a dual narrative structure that alternates between their perspectives, similar to how episode 2 featured separate storylines for Pomni and Gummy Goo. Alternatively, Zooble might once again stay behind in the tent or elsewhere within the circus grounds, accompanied by the other character who will share the focus of the episode. If Pomni decides to stay back with Zooble, she could explain that she needs a rest day after the intensity of the previous 2 adventures. This could give Zooble the opportunity to show Pomni more of the circus than what Caine presented in his rushed tour during episode 1. Zooble might reveal some of the secrets she's uncovered, or take Pomni to see the rooms of characters who have already been abstracted. They could discuss what these characters were like before their abstraction, how they became abstracted, or even talk about what Kaufmo was like. If Zooble doesn't know much about these characters, because she was spawned before Pomni, they might share their thoughts on what it's like to be newcomers in the circus, while the others are off completing the Haunted Mansion adventure. As for how the adventure itself will unfold, that remains uncertain. Caine might send the circus members off on their own and stay back in the circus, or we might finally get a glimpse of what Caine does when the circus members are not around. In episode 1, we saw Caine having dinner with mannequins when his wacky watch alerted him to Pomni's situation. But in episode 2, we didn't see what he was doing when he pushed everyone through the portal. He seemed eager to get rid of them, possibly because he had other plans. It would be fascinating to finally learn more about Caine's activities, such as how he creates the adventures, objects, or scenery. This episode might also give us insight into how Caine manages the overall experience for the circus members. Personally, I'm looking forward to learning more about Zooble. Initially, I thought she might not like anyone, but episode 2 suggested that she simply values her alone time, even though she still cares about everyone in the circus. Hopefully, this includes Jax as well, despite his mean-spirited nature. After all, love and understanding are the keys to winning anyone over. Let me know in the comments below what you think about what episode 3 might bring, and I'll be sure to read them. Also, the best comments will make it into the next video. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and watch this video here.